difference, one cup at a time. Yeah, this is tea time. Yeah, making a difference, one cup at a time. Tea time. So be sure to grab your tea, grab a seat, tune in to Miss Liz. Tea time. Making a difference, one cup at a time. Tea time, yeah. Tea time.
Well, welcome. We are back for the afternoon tea time. That's right. We had an amazing morning tea time with Linda Plunkett this morning, and she shared her story on fibromyalgia and also her story of tennis ball tumor that she had been diagnosed with and had that removed. So now we're going to get into some life coaching, relationship coach, hypnotist, practitioner, and I got the beautiful Brooke Kekos in the back, who is sitting patiently in the back. So we're just going to do the disclaimer, all that good stuff, and get this tea time rolling so we can have a nice strong cup of tea from Brooke. So the disclaimer for Miss Liz's Tea Time live show. Miss Liz myself is going live using StreamYard. Before leaving a comment, please grant StreamYard permission to see your name at StreamYard.com. Please be advised that the content brought forward for any Tea Time show hosted by myself, Miss Liz, is always brought forward in good faith. However, may bring forth dialogues and opinions that are not representative of my platform. The facts and information are perceived to be accurate at the giving time of airing. All Tea Time guests and audience participants are responsible for using their good judgment in taking any action that may relate to the discussion. The content brought forward may include discussions for some where they may be emotionally at risk. It is significant to know that this show is engaging in discussion forums only to offer and inspire awareness and connection, and is not providing therapeutical advice. If you have any questions about the disclaimer or the panelist discussion, you may freely contact me, Miss Liz, through my email at bookingmissliz@gmail.com. Moving forward, should you choose to voluntarily participate in today's show in any aspect, I myself, Miss Liz, welcomes you. And should you decide that the show is not made for you at this time, I'll respect your wishes and see you at a later show at a later date and time. And again, all tea times are done on Thursday this year in 2023, unless it is a rescheduled tea time, then it will be done on a Monday or Tuesday. So let me get into who Brooke Kekos is. Brooke Kekos helps those who feel alone and lost to discover their truth and stand in their personal power using her training as relationship coach, rapid transformational therapist, NLP practitioner, and having spent 35 years trapped in a religious sect indoctrination, abuse and trauma were prevalent. Raised to a narcissistic abusive father, she got stuck in toxic relationship cycles. This led to her to enter into a marriage of 17 years with a narcissistic abusive man. However, in 2017, Brooke found her personal truth and power, and she was able to break free from both the relationship and the religion. Shortly after, her ex-husband and father to her two sons passed suddenly to addictions. With this great loss, it ignited her desire to heal more deeply. Through her loss and trauma, Brooke's intuition and her soul calling was revealed. After 18 years as an esthetician, listening to people's stories, she knew that she could do more to serve those suffering and help them to their healing paths. She is currently working on her book, a speaker to help those in their own transformation, and the owner of Life Coaching Goddess. Her passion and purpose is to help others heal from past trauma, toxic relationships, and limiting beliefs that are no longer serving them. So let me get Brooke in here and let's spill some tea. So let me get Brooke in here. Welcome, Brooke. It is an honor to have you here today on Tea
Thank
Time.
you. Thank you so much. Glad to be
What?
here with you.
And that was a mouthful. Like, I just need to take a little sip of tea while you share with the audience a little bit about who you are, Brooke, and how you got to where you are today.
Yeah, I will definitely. I obviously, as you talked about, I'm a relationship coach and RTT therapist and an NLP practitioner. So what I do now is my passion and my purpose is to really help women and mostly to empower themselves to not only have a really beautiful relationship with themselves, but to also create more deeper, intimate relationships with others and especially their partners, because this has been obviously, as you can tell by my bio, a huge part of my story of not really understanding how to create healthy relationships because I was raised in such a dysfunctional family. So now I just find that, more than ever, we can learn so much from our relationships with others and be able to heal ourselves and become the best version of ourselves so that we can be not only happy within our own body and our own mind and really create a life that we desire, but also to create deeper intimacy in our own relationships and be able to just be authentic in every area of our life. So that's what I really find is needed right now in this time in the world more than ever. And that's why, I went through the things that I went through to be able to come out the other side and help women embrace this.
So, Brooke, when did you get into the life coaching goddess?
So actually, it's kind of funny. Like you told the story, I was an esthetician for most of my life, but also, I was a stay-at-home mom. I got to have the beauty of doing that for a long time as well, and being able to be really present for my two boys, which I find was such a gift. But I switched careers completely, even though I was very successful in doing what I did in the past, because I had, left a very abusive relationship. I had left a religious sect that I grew up in that was really controlling and abusive. And I realized that, I had to go on this journey for myself and start to do something different. And once I did that, then my ex-husband passed away in 2020. And that was really the shift for me when I decided that I wanted to not only make people feel beautiful on the outside, but I wanted to show them how they could feel beautiful also on the inside. And that was really what mattered most was that, because that's what I needed to do for myself. So once I started to kind of open that up for me, I said, I got to show women how to feel like this and do this healing work. And I felt so passionate about it. And really my business is so heart led because I do this because I love to see women transform and really become someone they didn't even know that they were capable of becoming. Because they didn't believe in themselves. And that was me for so long. I did not believe in myself, and I did not believe that I was good enough or that I was capable or any of these things. And so it was about actually going on this journey for myself to be able to give them the tools so that they could see they could do the same exact thing for themselves.
So, we have a question here for you, Brooke,
Yeah.
coming in from Twitter. Do you have a mentor or coach yourself?
Oh gosh. I have one therapist, four coaches. So, so they opened up a whole thing here because there is there I mean, I have a drive for self-development, so much so that even though I'm the coach and the therapist, I know I also need guidance. There are blind spots that even I can't see. So I do therapy twice a month. I see, my coaches between 2 to 4 times a month. One is like, I work with a business coach. I work with a relationship coach. My therapy coach is to really still work through getting over my trauma and being able to be the most healed version of myself so that I suffer from anxiety and complex PTSD. So I'm still learning how to process those emotional triggers and those old wounds from a lifetime of abuse. So it's a process. So it's needed to have the structure and the support, and there is never enough help that you can have. You should never have to do anything alone. And if you think that you're doing okay all on your own, most likely you're not. Most likely you're not actually really doing the work. You're avoiding all of the emotions and the things that you really have to start to really do that, because we repress those parts of ourselves, and we don't want to deal with those emotions or look at those emotions or those parts of our personality because we think that they're ugly and we don't want to deal with uncomfortability. And that's really doing the shadow work of integrating all these parts of ourselves that we rejected over a lifetime because other people rejected them in us. And it's about coming back to self. And I think you can never have enough coaches or therapists in your life.
Right? You always need that extra boost. And your story really resonates with me because I come from an abusive relationship too. My ex-husband was very abusive. And so I resonate with your story really, really, really heart to heart. And I understand where you're coming from with the narcissist, because the narcissist is a really hard abuse to get over, right?
Yeah,
it plays with the mind, right?
It really messes with the mind psychologically. I lived a lifetime of being gaslit, and my father was obviously dysfunctional as well with that, and very much a narcissist. And it was the belief of no matter what I did, I could never be good enough. And it was that connection of, if I wasn't achieving, then I was worthless. And then it was also a lot to do with the religious sect that I was in, because we had to act a certain way and be a certain way. And if we were not, we were shunned, rejected, and ultimately abandoned. And when I left that place, I was abandoned, right? I didn't have friends. I lost every friend I'd ever known since childhood. I lost my family. I have no communication with my parents currently and anybody that is still in that religious sect. So I had a lot of loss in my life. And then it became, I had to feel very defensive over myself because there was so much hurt and so much pain. And I think, that's why the abuse there, it can psychologically really mess with your mind and make you feel like, I don't even know why, if I want to be here anymore, because what's the purpose, right? I lost all of these people that I thought were going to love me forever. And then all of a sudden they didn't. They just abandoned me over a belief system. And that was really hard for me to accept. Sometimes I kind of even shocked myself that I was able to get up and keep going every day. But I do know that my boys made me want to get up and be better, and do for them. Let me get a little emotional here. I'm sorry.
That's okay. On tea time, you're allowed to cry.
Because I don't know, if I would still be here if my boys hadn't been in the picture. And that's, obviously just being truthful, because when you have loss like that, it's the pain and the suffering of feeling that abandonment is so raw and so deep. And I had to just recognize, these boys deserve the best version of a mom that I can give them. And it just kept me going. It kept me saying, I got to get up. I got to do this. I need to go do the therapy. I need to go and, get better so that I can be better for them. And that's always been my biggest drive. So it's, they healed me in ways they don't even realize. It's been, which is the beautiful thing about it. But now I'm like, okay, I've done this. I've come from the bottom. I hit rock bottom, and now if I can get through these things, there's just so much more that I'm capable of, and so much more that other people that have probably been through very similar things are capable of, and they haven't grasped it yet.
Do you feel that as a mother, because you have children, I have children too, for me, it was my children as well that just kept me pushing. But what was that last straw that just said, you know what, these people don't have my back. I got to get out of here and save my back. So what was it for you?
I think the last straw for me is I wasn't able to see it right away. I still kind of was chasing my parents' acceptance and my especially my father's love. Oh God, I chased after his love and his acceptance. I needed his validation so bad. I would sacrifice all parts of me. And when my ex-husband passed, that was a very 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 raw time and difficult, but it was also very enlightening to see the way that my father reacted when he died. And when I just needed a hug and I was grieving my ex-husband, he gave me the most disgusted look and shoved me away and would not hug me. He had a lot of deep resentment over my ex-husband because there's a long story there. That's all going to be in my book, by the way.
Which is coming out soon.
Yeah, there's a lot. There's a lot there. But when he did that act, that is when I knew, oh, I am never going to receive from this man what I've been chasing after. And while I was angry and sad about him doing that, it also was like, I'm okay. I'm glad that he did that. You know why? Because it showed me to stop trying, stop chasing after a man that's never going to validate you, love you, accept you the way that you are. Just be done with it already. Take care of you. Stop worrying about this person. And I think we hold on to family members for so long because, well, we're told to, right? Oh,
yep.
Blood, that's our blood. Like you got to love your family. You got to take care of your family. You got to have them in your life. And that's just conditioning. And it's, I don't know if I can cuss on here, but it's BS.
Oh,
it's BS.
No, you can.
Okay, yes. Bullshit.
This is raw tea. We can tea on this.
It's not true because, and I always tell everyone that I meet that is trying to hold on to a relationship that's actually harming them emotionally and physically and mentally is if you had a friend that treated you that way, would they still be your friends? No, you wouldn't even want to have anything to do with that friend. And it's so easy to cut off a friend, right? It's different. Well, they're not our blood. It's easier to say goodbye to a friend because, hey, if they're not treating you right, you're not going to put up with their crap. But for a family member, we'll just sacrifice and we'll keep trying. We'll give them 7,000 chances and we'll sacrifice and just honor ourselves and our boundaries. And that's when we become mentally ill.
Yep.
That's when we become depressed, when we become anxious anytime we're around that person's energy because they don't accept us and they don't love us. And that was just a hard realization. But you know what? The moment he did that, I said, I remember coming home to my very healthy partner that has shown me so much grace and what unconditional love feels like, and telling him that is the moment that I needed to say goodbye once and for all. And while that was really difficult, it was transformative for me because then I was finally able to let go.
It's a really light feeling to know that you can say, this is my life and I'm no longer taking this, right?
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. Yeah, I think it's an empowering of myself to say, oh, well, why did I do this for so long? But I did that in my relationship previous, right? I was in that abusive marriage for 17 years and still never knew how to say no, but I didn't know the difference. Right. Yeah. I didn't know what a healthy relationship even looked like. I was just subconsciously going after the thing that was my normal. It was my normal. It was normal to be pushed around and beat down and, told that, you're a piece of shit. That was like something I was just realizing, after I was broken free from that, I had so much mental clarity. It was like, I had beat down my self-esteem so much, but now, I would never stand for that. Yeah. Now I would just there would be nothing in me that would ever say that this is okay. I wouldn't stay even for a day.
Well, I think because we get that behavior and abuse from our family, like the people that are supposed to watch over us and protect us, we go and look for that because that's all we were given as children, right? So then we look in our future partners and we're like, oh no, that's the same as what daddy gave me. So I'm just going to go and find what daddy gave me because that's the way daddy loved me. So
Yes.
that's what we look like in future relationships, and we seem to get into these toxic relationships. And I really want to talk about this because some of my viewers out there, they know that Miss Liz has been through a lot, and Brooke, your story really resonates with me, and I want to get that message out there that it's programming and conditioning that is put into us as children, that that's all we think we deserve until we have that last little piece of shit and we're like, no, we're out of here, we've had enough
Mhm.
shit sandwiches and we're gone, you know. And it's really really empowering to say, you know what, no, it's time for me to move on, you know. And
Yeah.
it's very hard when it's family, especially when it's your parents, because it's that ultimate betrayal, right? The people who have brought you into the world are the ones who betray you. So it's really really hard. So I want to get into, you got into life coaching and relationships and all of that. So do you feel that by having all these toxic relationships that you can identify some toxic relationships like in your clients and your and that as well, and say, you know what, there's a couple red flags, I'm just going to give you a warning, you, it's
Mhm.
up to you, because we can never tell people, you know, you got to leave now, you got to do this now, because when we do that, then they feel like they've been pushed into it, right?
Yeah.
And
Exactly. No, I totally agree with you because I actually never tell anybody to ever leave the partner they're with. I teach them really to understand and heal the relationship they have with themselves first. Because what happens is when they are searching for that and they're realizing that something is wrong, I know for myself, I mean, I couldn't see it. We talk about that programming and that conditioning. I couldn't see that I was actually in a harmful relationship. Yet I was being tortured, and so sad and unhappy and all of these other things. But I never would ever say, oh my God, something's wrong. I need to dig deeper because it was my normal. And so I seeked that same chemical addiction, high and low of the relationship. I was so trauma bonded, I didn't know what the difference was. So I do like to show my clients of, what's the difference between a healthy relationship and a toxic relationship? That and really helping them see the different dynamics, helping them to see, okay, well, what do you want? What do you deserve? And helping them learn what boundaries are and what they can do to become the most confident self for themselves so that they feel empowered to either, one, change and get out of the relationship, or two, start to, have the big discussions or ask the questions or start to say, we need to work on our relationship and recognize what's going on here. And a very, very abusive partner could be much different, but there are just some scenarios where there's toxic behavior and arguments and repetitive things that are coming up because of past wounds or past trauma that these couples are not really aware of what's really going on and they're shut down. They're not able to have the raw and vulnerable conversations. So I do really have a good way of being able to know and help guide my clients through the difference, right? What's the difference? Because I want to create more deeper, intimate relationships for them as well. Because most of the time my clients come and they're like, they're not happy. They're not being intimate with their partners, or there's something wrong in the relationship and they can't understand why. Why am I not getting my needs met? Why am I not, feeling loved? And a lot of the times it's their own wounds. It's their own things from the past, their old stories of, oh my God, why am I not getting attention? And why don't I feel important? Because it's stories from the past where they never felt like they were important, or something that happened in their childhood, or they had a very toxic relationship with a parent that was very dysfunctional. And we kind of go from the bottom. I always say it's the bottom up approach. Okay, let's start from the childhood, what went on there, and let's go through this process to dive deeper.
so I want to ask you this question, Brooke. What's the difference between relationship coaching and therapy?
So relationship coaching is more of let's be goal oriented.
Okay.
Let's really work through what's really happening, what's going on, and digging deeper. And I really use my NLP background to really dive deep into what is the language and the communication style of my clients. And then understanding how that may be being interpreted to their partner or to
Okay.
people around them. So to help them understand that a little bit more. The therapy that I do, RTT therapy, is really being able to access those subconscious parts of them their past events, their trauma, their wounds, and being able to rewire the mind to be more free of it, to understand themselves more so they can become more consciously aware of how they're sabotaging themselves, how they're holding themselves back, and being able to really embrace this new way of life. And it empowers them to want to step forward and move forward on their journey.
So, if, for people that don't know what NLP is,
Mhm.
yeah, I'm saying it right. NLP. Could you tell us a little bit what it is?
So that's neurolinguistic programming.
Okay.
And that's basically kind of the language that we use and how we access these parts of us that we're not really understanding what the programming is, or the
Okay.
conditioning of that part of our brain that really operates the majority of our life, about 90% of it. So everything that we've learned since childhood is when we were most impressed with that language or the models or the systems that we believe in, our belief system, and for me, it's like we talked about the programming of, searching out for the toxic relationships because that's all we knew. It's because in childhood, that's all I saw was this toxic relationship between my mother and my father and the way that he treated her. And so I thought that was normal. I thought it was normal to demean the woman and to, make her feel less than, and, keep her in line and be, stern and authoritarian. And like, I thought that was normal. I thought I was supposed to be in perfect subjection, and that's kind of what it is. It's finding out what is going on in the background of the programming and the conditioning of the mind.
We have a question here. A viewer would like to know more about the introduction, the religion sector.
Yeah.
My tongue is all twisted here.
Indoctrination.
So they would like to know more about the religion. How do you know when you're being controlled by a religion?
Well, there is actually a model out there. I think his name is Stephen Hussein. I can't remember his exact name, but and he basically talks about the cult model of when you know you're being highly controlled in an abusive religion. And if it fits that model, you can pretty much say that you're being controlled. But for me, the control system was first you had to act a certain way, otherwise you were shunned or rejected. And then I did sin as a young child. I had sex before marriage. And I ended up what they call getting disfellowshipped. So what happens with that is you basically go in front of 3 elders and you confess your sin. And they have to know all of the details. And they ask you, really intimate questions that you're just like, why am I having to answer this? And it's very humiliating, to be honest. It's very shameful. It's very traumatic for me. And then you get disfellowshipped if they don't believe that you're repentant, or they feel like God did not, believe that you're repentant. And I ended up spending a whole year of my 16-year-old life being disfellowshipped. So I would go to the church and I would be shamed. No one would look at me. No one could talk to me. So I didn't have any friends for that year until I was brought back into the religion when they thought that I was repentant. And that was a very difficult year for me. And I have had since to go back through therapy to kind of process that trauma, because it was, I felt very alone. I felt very rejected. There was so much shame and guilt in that story. But part of being controlled in a religion is when someone tells you what you have to do or you're going to die. Or if the belief is that you cannot look at any outside sources, they only will make you read yours. Like they're telling you, that you basically cannot think for yourself. You have to listen to everything that they say. Then you're being controlled. You're being brainwashed. You're being told to live a certain way, do a certain thing, and that God will literally kill you. That was basically the gist of the message. If you don't do this, then God's going to kill you at the end of the world, Armageddon, and you're not going to live. And so there was fear-based. And these type of religious sects that are fear-based are that they're controlling you. It's controlling the masses. It's wanting to use fear as a tactic.
So how did you get over that, Brooke?
Oh, it was pretty terrifying, actually. My husband at the time, when we were in the middle of divorce, he was the one that actually found out that the religion was a sham to begin with. He started doing his own research, and Australia actually had some cases going on of the Royal Commission of with this religion because there was a bunch of child sexual abuse cases that were handled wrong. They used to cover up the child abuse cases. There's actually many documentaries about it, and he started to dive deeper into this, and he started to see that like the society or the higher up people in the society were lying about things. They weren't telling the truth. And then he started to dive deeper into the indoctrination of the actual religion. And he saw that there was things that did not add up with history and what other Bibles said. And he just realized, this was nothing about this is truth. And we've been lied to our whole entire lives. And I didn't believe him at first. I had crazy amount of cognitive dissonance. I was like, there is no way. I told him he was crazy. And we're actually preached and brainwashed to believe that these people that actually say these things, that it's not truth, are like from the devil. They've been, taken over by a demon, and they're Satan's spawn. And like, so I literally was like, oh my God, you've been possessed. I'm like,
we have to do an exorcism on you.
Yeah. So they had me so programmed that I literally did the exact reaction that I was taught to do.
Wow.
And so I was like beside myself because I was like, oh my God, how could you ever say that? I was just I couldn't believe it. And so I did not believe him at first. We fought about it so much so that it really did break. The marriage needed to be over anyway, but it really did. It was like the end all be all, because he ended up, just, it was too much. And I finally said, I'm done. Like, I can't do this anymore.
Yeah. And
I immediately regretted that, because when you break up with someone that you've had a trauma bond with so long, it's like coming off of a drug. So it's like the pain and the anguish of going through that process is a lot. But back to the religion, when he told me that was a sham, that was when I started to really question things. And I started doing my own research. I started to not listen to, you can't look at anything outside this religion. And I started doing my own research and learning for myself and standing in my own, like, okay, well, you know what? Maybe I do need to check out these beliefs and see what is really the truth and what's really not, because that's what they call it. They call it the truth. They want to make you believe that's the truth. And it was so far from the truth that, I find it funny to even say that word.
We have a question here for you. Do you trust any faith now?
It's funny, people, I hate to talk religion. I'll be honest. I had a very difficult time with religion after, and I was very mad at God. I didn't even believe in God for a while. But until I had, I had a spiritual awakening in 2020 when my ex died, and I had deep grief and all of these things. I started to realize that it's not about religion. Religion was made by man, and that's what I believe. I believe religion was made by man to control the masses, tell us what to do, use fear to control us, and that's just my belief. And nobody has to resonate with that or not. But when I had this spiritual awakening, I did feel very connected to something very divine and a higher power, and I knew that this was just my journey, part of my journey, to be able to speak up about this, because so many people are being controlled and they're unaware of it, because it's become part of who they are. It's their belief system that they've taken on that's really not theirs. And being able to come into that space of saying, but to answer the question, I don't necessarily believe in religion. I believe in spirituality. I believe being connected to something that's higher than you. But it is also the fact that we have this human journey to just be good people, judgment is not love. Separation is not love. When you separate people and you are hateful and you think that people are different than you or you're higher than other people, that is not love. And that's the exact opposite of love. So if people are saying that they are from love and they're doing that, then they are blind. They haven't
That
really.
kind of scares me, that statement. I'm coming to you from love. Like, I'm just like, as soon as I hear the word love, I'm like, I'm running, like, I'm gone. Like, I'm out of here. Like, I'm not doing this. Like,
Maybe we need to do some work together.
right? And yeah, it's
You got some
like
trauma there.
that's like the word obey. The word obey gets to me too. I'm like, I know that's not happening. Not with this woman. No,
Yes.
you know. And I think it's because we've been controlled so much as children, and then in relationships with spouses, that we're just like, no, we know what we're worth. We know where we can go, and you know, and it's really empowering, right? So I want to get into your tea, Brooke. If I ask you what your tea is today, what 3 words would you give me?
So my T would be transformation, evolve, and acceptance.
And now, why those words?
So transformation is something that I feel like that I have had to take on in my own journey. And when I think about this, it's like the phoenix rising from the ashes, this
Oh,
morphing of a butterfly, like being able to go within oneself and learn what transformation really is and what that really means, because I had to completely change my identity and who I was, my belief system. So it was like starting from a blank slate. So transformation is huge, and a lot of people are afraid of transformation. And it's not scary. It's scary at first because we fear change, where our brain is operating for us to keep us comfortable and safe. So that's why transformation can be scary at first, right? We want to stay stuck in the comfortable places, but transformation is when we actually really become actually better humans and treat one another in a different way.
and evolve. Why that word?
Evolve, it's very much the same, right? Evolve is like, okay, I realized that I was doing the same thing over and over and over and every day. It was like Groundhog Day, right? Did the same stuff, did the same repetitive patterns, did the same behaviors, had the same fights, had, stopped myself, sabotaged myself the same ways. And I wasn't evolving. I wasn't evolving. And I think that's a lot of the reason why I had the spiritual awakening that I did, because I was not evolving. So whatever divine intelligence within me was like, it's time to transform.
Wake up, girl.
Like, what are you doing? Like,
Yeah.
This is not working for you. So it was just being able to really see my path more clearly and begin to understand who I needed to become.
And what did you give me for A again?
Acceptance. So acceptance has been a very large part of my journey right now, as I'm always doing the shadow work and being able to love myself more fully. But I think I wanted to resist parts of myself because I was afraid to feel them. I was afraid. And the more that I've accepted that these are parts of me, that they came in my existence for a reason, that I've been able to accept myself more fully and love myself greater and know that I am worthy. And it doesn't matter what anybody else thinks or says about me. I'm always worthy.
Now, do you think your T relates to the word goddess?
Yeah, I would say so.
So why
For
the
sure.
word goddess? What is it about the goddess?
So, I think it's funny because when I started this business, I didn't really necessarily know why the goddess came in so much for me. Just intuitively, I became a very intuitive person. I always had been, but my intuition was opened up so much more as I began to heal. The goddess just kind of came through because it was like I had been operating in that masculine energy for so long that it was like me embracing that inner goddess that was always within me, which is really that divine feminine energy that is there for us to embrace and evolve with, because it is like this softness and this compassion for self and this grace, but it's also very powerful. It's like being able to be in the flow of life and like when you're more in joy and happiness and contentment with who you are, and you actually are knowing and loving yourself more, you can tap into that inner potential, that goddess, because you are just so in touch with your own sexuality, your own feminine nature, and this new love of yourself is just, it's empowering.
And you just said something really important. The word goddess, it is our sexuality, right? We should be proud of who we are
Mm-hmm.
and the individuality of ourselves. You know, we're programmed and conditioned to not understanding our bodies when we should be understanding our bodies. So we know what our bodies like and what they don't like, right? In relationships as well. So do you do any of that with your therapy for a relationship coach, like understanding the body?
Oh, most definitely, because that's it, I do a very holistic approach, right? It's mental, physical, it's spiritual, it's emotional, right? It's like all of these facets of being able to understand yourself more deeply, because it is so important for not only you to embrace your sexuality, but that is like your creation, that is your creativity, that is your spark, your passion in life. And if you're not tapped into that, you're dull, you're lifeless, you're depressed, you're anxious, you're all of these other things. And so I want you to be able to tap into that. I want you to be able to actually feel that and embrace it and be with it, because it is so powerful. And it's about really healing that body and mind connection, because I was very disconnected from my body for so many years because of rejection and abandonment, and having some very deep wounds since childhood of the abuse. So I didn't really connect with my body. And I ended up using my body actually in a bad, not a good way, because I was hypersexual just to get my needs met. Like that was, I define sex as love. Like if I'm not having that, I'm not getting love. And so it was the opposite of what you really want to create. But for some women, they just completely shut down, and then they like, whoa, I'm not going to be intimate, right? And then they're not really tapping into that. So for me, it was being able to say, okay, I need to connect with this body more deeply. I need to heal my nervous system, because of a lifetime of being in fight or flight was so harmful for me, or I'm going to create this disease in my body. I knew that I had to stop living the way that I was, or it was going to result in physical manifestations of not taking care of myself.
I really like that statement, the nervous system, fly or flight, you know, because our
Mhm.
body does, the nerves talks to us, right? The energies and our bodies talk to us. And I think a lot of us who have gone through any form of trauma goes to the spirituality instead of the religion, because we kind of feel more at free. Because if you talk to a lot of survivors who have gone through any form of trauma or any form of abuse as your clients, I'm sure they all say, I prefer to be spiritual than, you know, religion based. And I'm not here knocking religion, so don't come at me. I'm not, but I'm a very spiritual person too, because I feel like you, it's man-made, and it's to put fear into us, and it's to, you know, respect these conditions, respect these scriptures, respect this, respect that, but they don't respect us in return, you
Yeah.
know. So that's a double standard for me, and I'm just like, I'll do the spirituality instead of the religion, you know. I do worship, and I do, you know, feel that energy and all of that as well. But when it comes to somebody saying you need to do this, you need to do, I'm just like, yeah, no, I'm out of here. Like,
Well, yeah. Well, when we've been controlled, I know for me, like I am the opposite. And it's funny because even as a young girl, anytime I was trying to be controlled, I never would stand for it. I always was rebellious, because control was not something that I liked. And it's funny that I even stayed in that religion as long as I did, because it was so controlling, but I just wanted to be accepted. And that's really our deep human need, is to be accepted. So we will transform and become a chameleon just to be accepted, right? And I recognize that's why I did it, and I don't knock religion either. Honestly, whatever makes people happy, you go do you, right?
exactly.
I don't even judge people that are in the religion that I left. I just say, you know what? If that's what makes them happy and they're at peace with their life, then I give more power to them.
Right.
Um, I just know it wasn't for me. It wasn't for me, and that's okay. Does it make it right that they shun people and, abandon people? No, it's not. But you know what? It's something I can't change. And that was
Yeah.
something I had to learn is like, you cannot change your external circumstances. It's like you can only change yourself and move forward on your own journey. And if they don't accept you, then that's okay.
So we have a question here.
Mhm.
Have you ever spoken about the religion in public
Yes.
besides podcasts?
Like, what do you think they mean? Like on podiums or?
Like on a conference or seminar.
I definitely have done it on summits. Yes. So I have spoken about the religion, very much so. And I'm not, like I said, I'm not against the religion, but I am against anything that is controlling and is harmful mentally and emotionally to people, because one, I have to stand up for what is right, and that's not right. And most of the people that leave the religious sect that I was in, or cult, it really is a cult, is they do not know how to function in society, and there is a very high suicide rate. And there's a lot of people that do not want to lose their families, so they will be physically in the religion but mentally out because they are so afraid of leaving it and what that would do to their lives. And that's when I draw the line and say, you know what? That's not okay. No one should have to feel that fear. No one should have to live a life like that, because that's not true happiness, and that's just a waste of your time here.
So is that what got you into hypnotist? Is it become a hypnotist? Because you talk about the mind a lot and the freedom and understanding. And when you get hypnotized, you're kind of releasing in some form, correct?
Yeah. So when you're in that brainwave, which we're in that brainwave all the time throughout the day, we just don't realize it. What it is about being able to journey into what you're programming, what you really actually think about yourself and others, or the trauma or the belief system, and being able to not only be free to allow the emotion to come up because the defense mechanisms are down, right? It's really about being able to let the defense mechanisms come down so that you can actually see yourself with more clarity and really understand yourself more deeply, so that you can change the things that are limiting you from living your best life. And because there's always a root for everything. So if you have anxiety, there's a root cause, there is a reason, there's a story within your subconscious. And I was shown very early on how the brain worked, how it operated, with my awakening process, to be able to not only help myself, but to do the work that I am doing. So it's enlightening. It's a way that you get to understand yourself. And when you discipline your mind, I mean, that's really your strongest muscle of your whole entire body. We're worrying about everything that's on the outside. I mean, you got this amazing thing on the inside that you can hold so much power, and you're just not using it the right way. And so I want to teach people to use the right language, to give the right directions to that part of their brain, so that they can actually tap into who they can really meant to be, what they can be.
Well, that's really empowering too, Brooke.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for that service.
Yeah.
I want to get into some of the things that you've accomplished. Like, you've accomplished some really good things here. You've been in a magazine in May of 2022 for the She Corporate magazine. You want to tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, I was in that magazine, and I really was talking about harnessing that power of our subconscious and how we can really create the life that we desire by being able to reprogram ourselves and understand ourselves a little more deeply. Where did that come from? And that really came from what we were modeled from 0 to 7, because that's how our brain was picking up everything in our environment to make the systems that we're operating on today. And that is, what I really talked about in that. I also am in Brains magazine, which I do, some articles in there, and I really talk about more deeply about the work that I do, because it is so important to use our voice in these places, because the more that we use that, the more change, or somebody's going to pick up something, or they're going to resonate with something that I said, and it's going to put a light bulb on for them. And they're like, oh my God, maybe I need to dig deeper into that. Maybe that's something that can help me in my own life. And that's really why I do what I do.
Well, thank you so much for that. I didn't find that one. I'm going to have to look for that one. So I want to get into, all my guests get asked this question: your favorite color and their one word to describe them, who they are as an individual. So I want to get into your favorite color. You picked hot pink, and if you notice, Miss Liz is wearing pink. So I want to know why hot pink.
I don't know why. I think hot pink is like so fun and just like so vibrant. And every time I feel a hot pink, I don't know what it is, but I feel like just like my most fun self and like sexy. And I'm like, oh, I'm in my hot pink. Like, you know, I can be this fun little character. And so I don't know. It's just something about hot pink that is just like my color. I know it's so typical, right? I'm a girl. Okay, you like pink, but it's not just regular pink. It's hot pink.
No, it's not just pink. It's hot pink.
Yes, exactly.
And the word that you gave me to describe yourself is intuitive. Did I say that?
Intuitive. Mhm.
Yes. So do you want to share a little bit why that word?
Well, I think that's a gift. I think it's a gift that I have, and the intuitive nature of being able to, one, read other people's energy and know exactly how they're feeling without them even having to say a word. Intuitively being able to understand the next direction that I need to go, and being able to just use that intuition for empowering myself, but also helping others heal as well. So, and I think that's a gift in itself.
So Brooke, any final words for any survivors out there that might be listening to this podcast or might get this podcast through a friend? What message would you have for them?
Oh, survivors of abuse. First of all, my heart goes out to you because I know exactly what it feels like. I know the pain and the suffering that it comes with, but that also there is a different side to this. You don't have to identify with your trauma. You don't have to identify with the abuse. You don't have to stay in the victim consciousness of, oh, poor me, I had all this abuse. And you can actually rise above that. And you actually can tap into this other part of you that can shift it and use that lesson, that learning, that experience in your life, and use it for good and purpose. And yeah.
No, continue on.
No, that's it. That's it. I lost
like, no, I'm not. So you also have a Facebook group. Is that a private group or is that a public group?
I do have a Facebook group. It's called Warrior Goddesses. And I do have that. That is public. So if anybody ever wanted to be a part of that, they definitely can go and look that up and find me.
And you have a book that you're working on, or is it coming out? What stages are you in for the
book? I am actually in the editing stage right now.
Oh,
which is a pretty big deal. And it's funny because I've actually had this book done for a little bit, but I was avoiding it because we avoid things that make us uncomfortable. And I was avoid editing it because I knew it was going to bring back up some emotions and some things. But you know what? I was ready for it. I'm now prepared for that. So I'm working through it and being able to really get it to a space where I plan on hopefully publishing it this year with a publisher. So
awesome. So we'll look forward to that. Brooke, you keep me updated with that. So as soon as your book comes out, we'll get the link up there. We'll put it out on Facebook for you on Miss Liz's.
Thank you.
I want to get into, just before we wrap up, because we're almost done the hour, I was checking my last minute notes here, checking any questions that are coming in. We do have a question here. We have a 16-year-old girl who would like to know about your I can't say the word. The field that you used to work in. Yeah. Yeah.
What does she want to know about it?
She wants to know, how long did it take for you in school to get in?
So I went to school. It took me about a year. And then I actually ended up going back to school and I got my laser license so that I could do medical procedures for laser and other things. So in the field, in the esthetician field. So probably overall, it took me maybe a year and a half if you did both of those things. So yeah, it can be pretty quickly.
So it's pretty, so 2 years in school and then you got it?
Yeah. Yep.
Well, that's awesome. And she's 16. So she's probably looking into fields like coming out of school, right?
I love it. Yeah. Well, estheticians, it's a fun job. And if you like to be hands-on and you like to make people feel good, it's a great job. I mean, I still love doing it. I still do it for my friends because, sometimes it's just it's just a thing that I enjoy doing. So it's not my career anymore, but I still love doing it.
And if anybody would like to reach you for any of your services, how can they reach you?
So they can go to lifecoachinggoddess.com. I'm also on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook. I mean, I'm pretty much everywhere right now. So yeah, you can definitely reach out to me, or you can just, email me. I would love to hear from you, Brooke Kekos at lifecoachinggoddess.com.
And do you have any workshops or any events coming up in the future?
I actually am starting a women's coaching program tonight. So I am doing it's called Rewrite Your Life. So I'm going to be doing that here now, and then I'm going to be doing it again in the fall. And it's really about being able to transform these women in just a matter of 8 weeks to really understand their brain and their belief system and be able to transform that and rewire that for themselves and to heal parts of themselves that they have not been able to.
So is that going to be a virtual or in-person event?
It's a virtual. Mm-hmm.
And can anybody sign up for that?
Yeah, anybody can sign up for that.
So it's not like just women, men can sign up as well?
Men can sign up too. Yeah. I've never had men in my group before, but I mean, I do not welcome it. They're always welcome.
So where can they find that? They can find that on your website on how to register for that?
So they would have to email me personally.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
So anybody that wants to join the 8-week course, email Brooke.
Yes.
So I want to really thank you, Brooke, for joining me today and sharing your story. It really resonates. I love having guests on who understand, because I don't feel so alone, right? And growing up, I think when we go through such abuse, we just want to have somebody that we can say, you know what, you get it, you understand it. And your T, a really strong T, transformation, involvement, acceptance. And the word acceptance is a very hard one for anyone who has gone through any abuse. So if you know anybody who has gone through any abuse or anything, reach out to your local services in your community. Ask a friend, share this tea time, get it out there. If you feel that this tea time is helping you or that it will help someone out there save a life or get out of an abusive relationship, I highly recommend you share Brooke's tea time. Again, Brooke, thank you so much for joining me and sitting and having tea. I want to thank all of the viewers and the listeners. And if anyone is tuning in and watching the replay, push #replay and tell me where you're tuning in from, because I always like to hear where you're coming in from. And I will be back tonight at 7 p.m. with a Canadian composer, Ashley Rekesser, is going to be in the studio, and she'll be sharing about her compositions and musical design and all of that good stuff. So this morning we had a personal story. This afternoon we had another personal story. And tonight we're going to have a personal story, but we're going to have a little bit of music. So there's always a little excitement on Tea Time with Miss Liz. I want to give you the final words, Brooke. So any final words you would like to share with anyone out there before we wrap up?
I think the best thing to say is just, you heal your mind, you change your life.
Thank you so much. And thank you all. And I will see you guys tonight at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for the last Tea Time of Thursday. And I will be back next Thursday with 3 new guests, 3 new flavors. And that's how we work on Tea Time. We bring different flavors and different teas with the TEA. And as you can see, all the guests have shared their teas. So we don't serve a beverage. We serve life stories here on Tea Time. So I'll see everyone tonight at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Don't forget to tune in.